Good afternoon. I'm Ward 1 Councilmember Nadeau, Chair of the Committee on Public Works and Operations. We're in room 120 of the John A. Wilson Building, and the time is 1:11 p.m. This is a hybrid hearing being held on the Zoom video conferencing platform. Public witnesses will be testifying virtually, and we are joined by our government witnesses in person. This hearing is being broadcast on DC Cable, the DC Council's website, as well as on my website at brianneknadeau.com/live. The purpose of today's roundtable is to consider PR 25-420, the Director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, Tiffany Crowe, Confirmation Resolution of 2023, and PR 25-280, the Department of For Hire Vehicles, Melinda Bolling, Confirmation Resolution of 2023. After a period during which a number of the agencies under this committee's purview have been without permanent directors, I'm glad the mayor has begun to send down appointments. Given the importance of every agency under the Public Works and Operations Committee, it's our philosophy to ensure that every appointment receives a roundtable. I look forward to soon being able to schedule a roundtable on the nomination of Christopher Rodriguez to the position of the Chief Technology Officer. The purpose of PR 25-420 is to confirm the mayoral appointment of Tiffany Crowe as the Director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. PR 25-420 was introduced September 19th, 2023 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor and referred to the Committee on Public Works and Operations for consideration on October 3rd, 2023. The mission of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection is to protect the economic interests of residents, businesses, and visitors in the District of Columbia by licensing and regulating businesses and enforcing the Consumer Protection Procedures Act. To protect consumers, DLCP issues business licenses, occupational and professional licenses, special events permits, and vending licenses, registers corporations, investigates consumer protection complaints, and conducts mediations, and inspects weighing and measuring devices used for monetary profit. Tiffany Crowe was appointed Acting Director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection by Mayor Muriel Bowser on September 7th, 2023. She brings to DLCP over 15 years of experience, including 5 years in the district government. Prior to this appointment, she served as Associate Chief Technology Officer, where her team focused on critical enterprise applications, including developing the district's test to return and test to stay forms and tracking system for students in response to COVID-19. Ms. Crowe served as the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Administrative Officer at the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs between 2019 and 2021, as the agency was operationalizing its separation into two agencies, the Department of Buildings and DLCP. As Chief Administrative Officer, she led the formation of the district's Consumer Protection Unit. As COO, she led improvements to the Enforcement Division, including the establishment of the Alternative Resolution Team, to address cases before needing to go to a full adjudicative hearing. Between 2012 and 2019, she served as Senior Advisor and Counsel to the Associate Director of Supervision, Enforcement, and Fair Lending at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The purpose of PR 25-280 is to confirm the mayoral appointment of Melinda Bolling as the Director of the Department for Hire Vehicles. PR 25-280 was introduced June 14th, 2023 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor and referred to the Committee on Public Works and Operations for consideration on June 20, 2023. The mission of the Department of For Hire Vehicles is to protect the public interest by regulating the vehicle for hire industry to allow residents and visitors of the District of Columbia to have safe, affordable, and accessible transportation options. DFHV provides licensing, adjudication, enforcement, and client services for drivers, taxicab companies, associations, and limousine companies, as well as residents and visitors who use public and private vehicle for hire services in the district. Melinda Bolling most recently served as the Director of the Prince George's County Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement between 2018 and 2023. Before that, on January 2nd, 2015, Mayor Muriel Bowser appointed Melinda Bolling as the Interim Director of the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. She began serving as Acting Director on May 1st, 2015, and was appointed as Permanent Director on May 22nd, 2015. Before her tenure as DCRA Director, Ms. Bolling served as DCRA's General Counsel, where she managed the agency's legal staff in both prosecutorial and defensive litigation before administrative and judicial forums in the District of Columbia. As General Counsel, Ms. Bolling oversaw all legal matters affecting the agency, including drafting legislation, regulations, and council testimony, negotiating and drafting memoranda of understanding with other District of Columbia agencies, participating in meetings with council members, staff, and officials in the Executive Office of the Mayor, assisting and advising DCR's senior management team on various agency legal issues, and managing the agency's handling of risk management issues and FOIA requests. Ms. Bolling is a member of the bar in the District of Columbia, Maryland, and New Jersey. Before we turn to our public witnesses, I just want to take a second to remind everyone for the record, this roundtable will close at 4 p.m. today. Please make sure to submit your written testimony to the council's hearing management system by then. All witnesses participating in this webinar are currently listed as attendees in Zoom. Shortly, I will call your names and ask you to accept the invitation to be promoted to the panel, at which point you can turn on your cameras, and when it's your turn to speak, unmute yourself. For any technical difficulties, just send a message to the DC Council Committee on Public Works and Operations in the Zoom. Note that public witnesses will have 3 minutes to present testimony. Those speaking on behalf of an organization will receive 5 minutes. And with that, I will call our panel of public witnesses. Tony Lewis, Sean Townsend, President and CEO of the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington, Lucinda Babers, Dorothy Brazil, Executive Director of DC Watch, and Villarreal Johnson. Mr. Lewis, you may begin when you're ready. Make sure to unmute yourself, sir.
My apologies. Good afternoon, Chairperson Nadeau, and all the esteemed council members, George, White, and Pinto. My name is Tony Lewis Jr. I'm an author, an activist, a reentry expert, and a criminal justice reformer. Today, I'm before you to express my sheer confidence and belief in Tiffany Crowe as a leader. I believe Mayor Bowser has made a great choice in appointing Ms. Crowe as the director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. She is smart, tenacious, analytical, and a strategic thinker. She has served in various agencies throughout the city government, including this agency's predecessor, DCRA. This institutional knowledge provides a deeper understanding of the things that work, and more importantly, the things that are not working for DC residents and our business owners. Ms. Crowe and I are both Ward 5 residents, and we have talked extensively about what we want for our children and their generation of Washingtonians. Over the years, we have talked at length about how to improve not only our individual communities, but communities throughout the district. Those conversations have helped me grow in my activism and advocacy. They have helped to broaden my scope and have unearthed blind spots in my perspective. I'm very grateful for these conversations. It is in these conversations that I have also given me the greatest glimpse into how she thinks and what she values as a wife, as a mother, and as a leader. She is incredibly concerned with community vitality and all residents having access to educational and economic opportunities. It is these values and others that I know will make her an effective director of this agency. She understands the role businesses play in helping our communities thrive and flourish. She understands how important businesses, both small and large, are to the overall success of our beloved city and all of its residents. I have seen her repeatedly in community, engaging constituents, seeking ways to serve them more effectively. She is constantly looking for ways to streamline services and to have government be more accessible and responsive to our residents. Her expertise, community connectivity, and leadership ability will strengthen the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. I strongly support this appointment. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Yes, ma'am.
Townsend?
All right, can you hear me? There we go. Good afternoon, Honorable Committee Chair Nadeau and other members of the committee. I'm writing to express my full support for the confirmation of Acting Director Tiffany Crowe as the next Director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. Director Crowe has demonstrated exceptional dedication, professionalism, and a genuine commitment to working collaboratively for the betterment of the District of Columbia, particularly in relation to the restaurant industry. I'm Sean Townsend. I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of the Restaurant Association Metropolitan Washington. I'd like to take this opportunity to share my firsthand experience working with Acting Director Tiffany Crowe and highlight her outstanding qualities that make her an ideal candidate for this crucial role. Director Crowe and I first crossed paths during a recent discussion related to the implementation of the Cashless Retailers Prohibition Act of 2020. This conversation was proactively initiated by Director Crowe. During those conversations, Tiffany her progressive approach was characterized by open communication, a strong commitment to understanding the concerns of the restaurant industry, and a sincere desire to find collaborative solutions. Her dedication to upholding the law while ensuring the welfare of small businesses in the district was evident. And this positive initial encounter, I believe, has set the tone for a productive working relationship. I'm eager and optimistic about the opportunity to collaborate with Director Crowe on a broader range of issues and challenges that significantly impact the restaurant industry in the district. Her ability to engage with stakeholders, listen to their concerns, and work towards mutually beneficial solutions are qualities that I believe are essential for the effective leadership of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. Moreover, I anticipate that under Director Crowe's leadership, we can develop innovative initiatives and focus on policies that will facilitate a more business-friendly environment for small businesses in the district. This proactive approach is crucial for the continued growth and success of our vibrant and diverse restaurant industry. In conclusion, I wholeheartedly endorse Acting Director Crowe's confirmation to be the Director of Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. Her professional competence, commitment to collaboration, and dedication to the well-being of local businesses make her an exceptional choice for this role. And I kindly request the DC Council to extend their support and confirmation to Acting Director Tiffany Crowe, as she is more than capable of leading our community towards positive and productive change. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Ms. Babers?
Good afternoon, committee chair, council members, and staff. I am Lucinda Babers, former deputy mayor for operations and infrastructure and director of the Department of Motor Vehicles for the District of Columbia government. I am pleased to come before you this afternoon in strong support of Director Melinda Bolling's confirmation for Director of the Department of For-Hire Vehicles, DFHV. I have known Melinda since college and have watched her grow into a professional, customer-focused leader who fights for the rights of the residents, the business community, and the employees. It's a delicate juggle which must be done with compassion and finesse while keeping the business aspects such as policy, ethics, and equity into consideration. I am thrilled to say Melinda has mastered these juggling. I urge you to support Director Bolling based on the overall performance of the DC Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs and the Prince George's County Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement. As a former DC Department of Motor Vehicles Director, we are often judged by isolated customer and employee interactions, especially when it comes to council hearings. However, it's rare for those who receive competent and customer-focused service to line up to testify, because such service should be the norm and not the outlier. I will allow Melinda to give you details related to her exemplary past and present work history. However, in her current capacity as acting director for DC DFHV, Melinda hit the ground running as she sought to add to the improvements former Director David Doe implemented. She has conducted extensive listening sessions with staff, for-hire drivers, stakeholders, and most council members. Those sessions resulted in her proposing and implementing several agency enhancements during her monthly meetings with me. Although no longer in DC government, I have watched Team DFHV flourish under her leadership. Therefore, as a leader and a former agency director, Director Bolling is uniquely qualified to permanently continue in the position of DFHV Director. I look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see Dorothy Brazil in the Zoom. But if she is signed in under another name and wants to be promoted to the panel, just raise your hand, Ms. Brazil. And then finally, Villarreal Johnson. You're ready, you may begin.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Nadeau. Hope all is well with you. Thank you for steering this committee. I am here in my capacity as president of the Hillcrest Community Association, and I am pleased and thrilled to testify today in support of Melinda Bolling confirmation as director of the Department of For-Hire Vehicles. Melinda is not just an exemplary bureaucrat or just knowledgeable on how to navigate government and the political landscape, and she is more than her credentials and her experience. She's my neighbor. She's our neighbor. She comes connected to community, and her service in all her capacities enable her not only to be an excellent agent of the District of Columbia government, but a resident and a contributing resident of the District of Columbia. She has lived in the Hillcrest community for 30 years, over 3 decades. Her intimate government knowledge has been useful in improving communities east of the river, as well as throughout the District of Columbia. I had this privilege of working with her on Skyland, and her ability to navigate that complex landscape and to bring her true knowledge and resources and connections and relationships to work through some of those tough impediments to make a transformative development impactful for members east of the river is phenomenal and worthy of compliment and praise. We look forward to her doing way more in her new capacity. We are sure that she will bridge the gap and make connections to enabling transportation, to enable transportation to just make the city more commutable, more easy to travel and experience the wonderful dynamics of the District of Columbia. As I want to close out and say that, you know, meaningful leadership doesn't just come from elected officials, but all of us who have contributions, who are informed, and Melinda exemplifies all of that. And she continues to make a positive impact, not just in the DC government, but wherever she is, whatever she touches, whatever she desires. And we bring the full support of our community with her, behind her, and we know she will do well. And we thank you for hosting and allowing us to talk about her.
Thank you very much for your testimony. That concludes our panel of public witnesses. And so we will move to our government witnesses. First, we will have Tiffany Crowe, Acting Director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. I'll ask you to come forward to the table, please. Hey, if you could stay standing for 1 second and raise your right hand. Great. Do you swear or affirm under a penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give to the Committee on Public Works and Operations is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Great. Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Nadeau, committee members, and staff. I am Tiffany Crowe, Acting Director of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. I am honored to have been nominated by Mayor Bowser for this role, and it is my pleasure to appear before you today. I am grateful for the opportunity to discuss my background, what I've heard from the council, DLPC staff, and the community over the past few weeks, as well as the priorities I've set for DLCP. At DLCP, we have a vital mission that is two sides of the same coin, supporting businesses and protecting consumers. I am excited to discuss how, if confirmed, I will work with the council, the mayor, and other agencies to stimulate business growth, protect consumers, and promote the overall economic health of the District of Columbia. As a resident of Northeast Washington, D.C. for nearly 2 decades, I do not take the opportunity to continue serving the district as the first permanent director of DLCP for granted. Our residents and businesses deserve the best we have to offer, and I've lived a life of service in pursuit of that mission. My career in public service started as a young teacher in a high school classroom, followed by operational strategy, project management, advisory, legal, and executive roles in district and federal government. After nearly 5 years in district government, I joined the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. My years at the Bureau were exciting because they included the first years of the agency's existence. At that time, it was the closest government equivalent to a startup, and we were doing things at an unheard of speed for the federal government. In my Bureau roles, I was able to help stand up offices and create processes and procedures for work that had never been done before. At the CFPB, I attended law school in the evening and earned my JD while helping to figure out the most efficient way to draft and promulgate laws intended to protect the most vulnerable of consumers. I was fortunate to work with and learn from some really great lawyers who trusted my advice on how to get things done. As much as I loved the work I was doing at the Bureau, when presented with an opportunity to return to the district, I said yes to a position at the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs a few years prior to the agency's split. In the time I was at DCRA, I was able to help the team use data to identify problems, eliminate the regulatory investigations backlog, create the Consumer Protection Unit, establish the agency's first performance team, and recruit and retain some of the most talented leaders in the district, several of whom now work in executive roles in other agencies. In my career, I have also been privileged to support entrepreneurs, large and small, and in my work at the Office of the Chief Technology Officer, I was able to work toward a common purpose of governmental efficiency and improved customer service with executives at some of the largest corporations in the world, such as Microsoft and ServiceNow. We were able to implement and expand the use of an enterprise platform for service requests used by every agency and worked with nearly all district agencies to successfully complete complex payments to tens of thousands of employees, working through challenges that had historically been a barrier to accomplishing these payments. My work history includes successes in legal, operational, and technological positions, all of which have prepared me to be an effective director for the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. As of today, I've been acting director of DLCP for about 8 weeks. That may seem like a short period of time, but we have already started on a promising path. My first priority has been understanding the issues that are the highest impact and highest interest to the workforce of DLCP, the mayor, the council, and the public. Based upon information gathered so far, the 3 priorities that will make the biggest difference in the short and long term are: 1, supporting DLCP's workforce by focusing on the resource needs of the agency, human, technical, and financial, collaborating with the mayor and the council on establishing and implementing legislative and administrative priorities, and improving the customer experience and building public trust. Since day one, I've worked to establish an open dialogue with the staff by asking and answering questions, holding office hours, convening monthly all-hands meetings, and biweekly meetings with all managers, as well as having lengthier discussions with staff at all levels. The individuals doing the work every day, day in and day out, are a great source of knowledge, not just about how things are done now, but about how our services can be improved, as well as what customers and staff have been asking for but have not received. Brave team members have been open about their concerns and their desires for our new agency, and I've been direct about the challenges we are facing. Together, we are ready to take advantage of the opportunities and address the obstacles. Many of these things will not be fixed overnight, but by surfacing them, identifying solutions, and properly resourcing those solutions, we will be able to make consistent progress faster than anyone expects. This will, of course, require a collaborative approach to problem solving, setting transparent objectives, tracking our performance toward those objectives, and communicating with stakeholders about how we're doing. These actions are more than just surface measures to keep criticism at bay. I believe they are core to the way that all leaders should manage change. In the coming weeks, we will be filling several key vacancies with people who share my values of transparency, continuous improvement, and collaboration, and those new hires will help support our close-knit team of dedicated staff and facilitate outreach to the council and other stakeholders. I've been working on quickly getting up to speed on ongoing agency and council activity. Recently, I had the opportunity to testify before the committee regarding the Tenant and Row House Short-Term Rental Clarification Amendment Act of 2023. Just a few weeks into my tenure, I had not made up my mind about the amendments, so that meant that my team and I needed to quickly but thoroughly research the current short-term rental landscape here and across the country. I also needed to be certain I understood exactly how our current program was operating. I mention this because I believe it is possible to be efficient while also being thoughtful and considering opposing viewpoints to identify the best solution. Our teams have also been busy leading stakeholders in the Consumer Protection Procedures Amendment Act Working Group, answering business concerns related to the Cashless Retailers Prohibition Act of 2019, and working to fully implement new vending laws by collaborating with fellow agencies and community groups. I am humbled by the willingness of council members to meet with me and share the concerns that business owners and consumers across the district have about the city's economic outlook and the work of DLCP. One of the best parts of this job is just listening to people and then using that information to take action, continue work in progress, or refine priorities. I've learned so much about what our stakeholders care about as a part of my first listening tour. One of the consistent themes I have heard is that DLCP and our sister agencies must simplify our processes and take the necessary steps to make them more transparent and accessible. Council members and customers alike have mentioned that the process to get a new license and then renew that license is cumbersome and full of surprises that can lead to unexpected delays. We are taking this feedback seriously as we continue to expand the district's enterprise business portal, which was designed to address the opacity we see in the current process and encourage closer collaboration amongst licensing agencies. By working closely with those agencies and expanding our own use of the portal, we will make it easier for customers to complete licensing applications, track application status, and renew licenses when the time comes. We have already started our outreach to the business community and will be hosting larger feedback sessions aimed at guiding our work. We have also recently expanded our Business Resource Center with the goal of helping district businesses thrive, not just survive. I have also been attending as many occupational and professional board meetings as I can, as the work of our boards is vital to the professional landscape in the district. What I'm learning is that there are glaring needs, both technical and administrative, that we have already started to address. While the consumer protection part of our mission is largely working as designed, I hope to expand this work through consumer education, proactive market research into areas of consumer risk, and working with our boards and our colleagues at the Department of Buildings to identify and address bad actors in a variety of fields. We also have some opportunities to improve upon the current case management system and the way we use complaint data to inform our priorities and direct resources. In the year since its inception, DLCP has received a lot of public scrutiny. And in spite of that, what I found when I arrived was a resilient, professional, and determined workforce with a critical and exciting mission ready to take its place as the key to doing business in the district. If confirmed as the first permanent director of DLCP, I plan to work with you to make sure this new agency fully lives up to its purpose and its name. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We do have some standard questions that we'll start with. Are you presently an officer or director of any corporation, partnership, or other organization in the District of Columbia, either for profit or nonprofit, which is doing business with the District of Columbia government?
No.
Are you presently a member of any board or commission connected with district government?
No.
Do you or any member of your immediate family have any interest, financial or otherwise, that may directly or indirectly pose a conflict of interest for you in the performance of your duties to the office to which you've been nominated?
No.
Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal, state, or other local government, either contested or uncontested?
No.
Okay. A few questions now about your experience working at DLCP and the philosophy you bring to bear in this work. Why are you interested in being permanent director of this agency?
I would say the people. That's the reason that I accepted the position and the reason that I was interested. In my previous time at DCRA, we were doing a lot of change management, firefighting, and this opportunity is one that really is centered on the kind of customer service we provide, both to sort of business owners and consumers. And then the people in the agency are really dedicated. A lot of them have been at the agency for years, but have the passion of people new to the work. They know the community, they know the business, and it's work that I knew I could do because of my experience. It's sort of written for me based on the things that I've done.
What do you see as your role as director of the agency?
To set the strategic vision, to make sure that we have the right people in the right positions and jobs, to motivate, to encourage, to provide information and sort of a approach when we need resources, right? So if I'm asking you to do X and you say, well, I need Y in order to get that done, it's my job to make sure that we have what we need to accomplish the goals. I think it's also my job to understand the landscape of the city that we serve, of the district, and take feedback from council, from the community, and make decisions accordingly.
How do you stay on top of the latest research and best practices in the field?
I read a lot. I listen. I follow people who do the work, both locally and sort of on a national level. So I find out what big corporations are doing on a large scale with the private sector. And then I think about how we can adapt that to the government. I also pay attention to sort of what's happening. So during COVID, for instance, the law for those food delivery services, it wasn't on the books. And there was a recognition that the landscape was one that could encourage predatory behaviors. And so paying attention to what's happening in current affairs and how that might impact consumers and the markets is really important.
How would your experience so far as acting director inform your approach to leadership going forward?
So I would say on day 0, when asked if I would take this position, I had sort of like my strategic plan. I knew what needed to be done. I thought about, what I thought I knew and the things that I'd heard and just what I'd read and paid attention to. And then I went into the agency and I listened and I asked the council what their concerns were. And I adapted that. I refined it based on things that I didn't know or approaches that I realized that we could take. So I would say the things that I've learned in the past 8 weeks are, one, that there aren't as many gaps in terms of our internal resources, people resources, human resources, as I would have thought. There are a lot of really talented folks who work at DLCP already, and they're eager to do work that sometimes is beyond their position description, right? So that is informing the way that we approach problems that we have to solve now, even before we're fully equipped with resources. So.
In a similar vein, what have you learned from conversations with employees since starting, and how does that inform your work?
I think one thing I've learned is that they relied on one another during the past year, that there's a lot of trust there between managers and staff, and that the managers who report to me or report to the folks who report to me, they really did a great job of giving the teams sort of hope that there was going to be some permanence, that the work they were doing was important and that no matter what, they had to keep doing the work assigned to them. You know, complaints got investigated, licenses were issued, and that when I started, they had ideas about things that needed to be improved, right? So some of our critical systems, by day 2, the managers of those programs were at my door wanting to give me memos on the decisions that needed to be made, sort of what they needed. And so that is 100% informing my approach. I'm not a one-man band. There is a whole team of people ready to help.
What do you think are currently the biggest challenges facing DLCP, and how do you want to address those?
I think beyond sort of like the attention that the workforce needs and making sure that everybody's in the right place, I think we have some technical issues that we need to resolve. So some of our systems, our legacy systems, really need attention at the infrastructure level, at the IT infrastructure level. So, you know, it's no secret that our occupational and professional licensing system needs updating, Corp Online needs updating. So that is one, so sort of the technical issues, but then we are also facing sort of everything that we have to implement and do requires collaboration with sister agencies, and things like the special events process and vending enforcement. There are things that we can do on our own, but most of it, even when we own it, requires collaboration with our agencies. So I could go on, but
That's good for now. Thank you very much. How would you define success as a permanent director, and how would you measure that?
So success as a permanent director is, as a workforce, we understand that our job is to be an economic development agency, even though the agency was never thought of that before, right? DLCP is the engine for people who want to be entrepreneurs in the city. You need a license. You have to renew that license. And we also, on the other end of things, protect consumers so that they can trust the businesses that they are attending, right? So success looks like a landscape in which businesses come to us, they're able to get service, it's efficient, it's transparent. We increase the number of businesses in the district. So at our peak over the past 5 years, we were at about 75,000 businesses in the district. We're about 60,000 right now. And so in a quantifiable way, really figuring out, okay, why are we lower? And is that something that has impacted the city's economic development negatively? Similarly, consumers, I would love it if one day we walk down the street and consumers knew, everyone knew, that if you had an issue with a business, you could come to DLCP. That's not the case right now, but it will be, so.
What would you like your lasting mark to be?
When I leave DLCP, I would love it if the people who worked there felt like it was a great place to work, that they made a difference, that they knew that coming to work every day made the city better, and that everyone that came in contact with me in that role felt empowered to do the work that they were assigned and were able to pass that on to someone else.
It seems like a relationship with Octo is very important to the new portal and other programs you're working on. Have you had a chance to develop that relationship so far?
Yes. Fortunately, the position that I held just before this one was at Octo. And so I'm trying not to lean on my great relationships with Octo too much. We like to say we're saving our Octo asks until we really need it. But in terms of collaboration with the business portal, we are side by side in that we talk nearly every day, and they have been such a great partner in that work.
What are the key vacancies you said you're about to fill?
So we have posted a chief performance officer position. We're about to start interviews for the CIO position, a contracts manager position we're in the process of interviewing now, as well as a legislative director position we're interviewing for right now.
We also added new FTEs to enforce the beneficial owner disclosure requirements for LLCs. How will you approach that work, and do you think you now have everything you need to fully enforce that law?
So in speaking with the court manager about the FTEs and the best use for them, I think they received a few FTEs that were a little bit lower of a grade. They were more sort of administrative support, but in talking through how we're really going to implement this beneficial owner requirement, we need some analysts. We need employees who are both sort of available for the administrative portion, but also can do some analysis, make connections, communicate with other parts of our agency and outward. And so we have made some adjustments, like there are positions that we may not fill so that we can adjust those to be a grade higher.
Okay.
And so we're actually starting recruitment for those as well.
Okay.
So I would say in about 3 months, we'll know if we have everything we need to fully implement it. I think right now we believe that we do.
What's the status of the implementation of the street vendor bill, and how have you been managing staff and coordinating with DC Health and OTR on that?
So street vending implementation is another one of those things that is an everyday work for us. Partially because it is very complex. There are the elements associated with OTR, Department of Health, to name a few. And so we are planning a series of events called rapid street vending licensing events, because we have to do licensing in parallel with enforcement activity, right? But we want to make sure that all of the people who have expressed an interest in getting licensed, being compliant, and are possibly vending illegally right now have the tools and resources to come into compliance. So we have had meetings with DOH, with FEMS, with DDOT, with, I'm sure I'm forgetting some, DPW, to make sure that we're all aligned. We also have created a questionnaire for external stakeholders so that they can let us know who is ready. For folks who plan to attend the rapid vending licensing events, they will be assigned a concierge of sorts who will walk them through all the steps that they need to do in advance, right? So get your FR 500 in case you need to have an EIN. Check your clean hand status. Do you qualify for amnesty? And so we believe that success in this effort is in that pre-work and making sure that everyone has, for now, until it's obvious online, sort of a hand-holding opportunity. And we believe that we have the staffing to be able to support the current volume of interested vendors. So that is our current plan, and that hinges upon us being able also, when you get your license, to make it worthwhile for you to be in compliance. So.
Great, thank you. Are there any new initiatives the DLCP is planning to roll out beyond the ones you've already named?
So for our occupational and professional licensing system, while we are making upgrades in place to the old system, we have started doing discovery and requirements gathering for the new system. We've involved the boards in that, the occupational and professional licensing staff. And so that work is underway, and we're about 3/4 of the way through requirements gathering for that, meaning we understand the license types, we understand the current process flow, any improvements that need to be made. So that's underway. We've expanded the Small Business Resource Center into just the Business Resource Center. So we've added resources to that. One thing that I heard when I was meeting with council members and the bids and Main Streets and the chamber is that the account managers or business consultants at the agency were very beneficial in helping people walk through the steps of business licensing. And so we are going to expand that model and make it larger scale.
Great. Those are all the questions I have for you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will now hear from Melinda Bolling, Acting Director of the Department of For-Hire Vehicles. Right. Before you sit, just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the Committee on Public Works and Operations is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Nadeau and members of the committee. I am Melinda Bolling, the Acting Director of the Department of For-Hire Vehicles. I'm excited for the opportunity to testify before you to consider the confirmation of my position. I was so honored when Mayor Muriel Bowser appointed me to lead the Department of For-Hire Vehicles. I'm also honored to be here today as a proud district resident, having lived in Ward 7 for 35 years. In that time, I married a native Washingtonian and longtime Ward 7 resident, and we recently celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary. I have also raised a son and a daughter in the district, both graduates of McKinley Tech. Plus, a fun but lesser known fact about me, I am an official for the DC's own competitive swim team. Throughout these years, I have been passionate about my city, its residents and visitors, and I have translated that passion into a commitment to public service, both in the district and the region. My commitment to public service has been a cornerstone to my career. In Prince George's County, as Director of the Department of Permitting, Inspections, and Enforcement, I promised and delivered on a new permitting and licensing system. During that time, we issued more permits and collected more revenue than at any time in the agency's history. And before that, here in the district, as Director of DCRA, I led the agency in making important IT upgrades that earned us the IAS accreditation, which is awarded to building departments that operate at the highest level. And I'm so excited about all the ways I can lead DFHV to better serve the public and the for-hire industry. I want to thank my staff. It's been incredible since I've rejoined district government. And I also want to thank everyone who's written letters on my behalf and testified for me here today. I believe in the district and the many great things that we can do and can do. When the mayor selected me for this opportunity, I was so glad I could step up and do my part to help in DC's comeback. DFHV is a major part of DC's comeback. The taxi industry was hit hard during the pandemic. And as we slowly emerged, drivers have been taking their time coming back. It is important to me to help the industry weather this storm and find innovative ways to help the industry better compete with the ride-sharing companies and attract new drivers and customers. I believe in supporting this industry while ensuring that it is held to a high standard of customer service and safety. To that end, I have recently put together a taxi renaissance plan to galvanize the industry and bring back more drivers. This plan has 4 parts. First, we have proposed a fare adjustment so taxi fares are more in line with our neighbor jurisdictions and drivers can make more money in the district. Second, DFHV is looking at raising the vehicle age limit so drivers can keep their vehicles longer. Third, we're excited about opportunities like Uber Taxi that allow taxi drivers to also take Uber customers. And fourth, we're planning to allow new drivers to pay their licensing fee in installments so that they can get started earning money fast. Each of these elements together will help spur taxi drivers to keep driving and help recruit new drivers. The Taxi Renaissance Plan provides more choices for drivers and more opportunities to earn. I haven't been at DFHV very long, but so far my team has been doing amazing work. I have watched firsthand at the interplay between our enforcement vehicle inspection officers and the drivers on the road. You, in fact, went with us on one of our drive-alongs. Our team has been responsive to both customer complaints and balancing consumer protection with right-sizing enforcement. We've also continued to experiment with ways to make our programs more accessible to the riding public. We've created a wheelchair accessible vehicle working group and have started some initiatives to incentivize more drivers to drive wheelchair accessible vehicles, including a repair fund and late night incentives for WAB drivers. Looking forward, I'm excited to move the industry to a place to better connect drivers and passengers through our work on the Universal eHail grant. We're working with companies to find solutions that work for everyone. Our e-hailing grant has added 75 new taxi drivers on the Curb e-hailing app. Curb has hired recruiters who continue to add more drivers each week, and we plan to continue this recruitment into the winter. I'm excited about this innovation to support a vibrant and sustainable industry. Our programs have continued to be popular as well. DC School Connect has been working hard serving safe passage schools in Ward 7 and 8 and has been consistently fully enrolled. DC Neighborhood Connect Microtransit has received high customer service ratings while decreasing trip wait times since July. We've also forged new transportation partnership for OSSI's workforce training programs in the past year. DFHV's partner agencies have noted increased demand for our program, and we collaborate with the for-hire industry to provide the best services possible. These programs are a win-win for both the industry and district residents. The for-hire industry has many challenges, and I'm honored that Mayor Bowser saw in my experience someone who could lead this agency and its very capable staff toward innovative solutions to these complex problems. I regret that you do not. I am a receipt of the disapproval resolution circulated yesterday. I look forward to working with Mayor Bowser, her administration, and you to better serve the city, but I've asked the mayor to withdraw my nomination. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I will excuse myself to permit the committee to get on with its business. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Bolling. That will conclude the business of the committee today. The time is now 2:02 p.m. and this roundtable is adjourned.